Good morning and welcome to the Financial Shepherd Podcast. This is Joshua Casey Garland, owner of Shepherd Wealth Management. We have a good one today, folks. I can't be more excited to introduce Joey Z, Huff Real Estate Professional. I used him for my own personal real estate investing that I did. We'll talk a little bit about that today. Friend, CrossFit enthusiast, now turned Peloton. Not instructor, but I would say enthusiast as well. So Joey Z, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so this is the second podcast that we've done. The first one's already on our website, shepherdwm.com. It'll be on Spotify and YouTube. There's links to that on the actual webpage. So I wanted you to come in here today to talk real estate, of course. That's on everybody's mind. That's what's on, Barron's front cover. Everybody seems to be either trying to sell their property or buying another one, which is really good for you. So I'm very excited to be talking about this topic of real estate today with you. But before we get into that, why don't you just kind of share a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the real estate business with Huff?
I got started young, actually. I got licensed when I was 18. I grew up in the neighborhood of the Huff family and did, wash cars and babysat their kids and kind of, gradually got into doing stuff in the real estate office. And Susan Huff, who's a good friend, mentor, and broker at Huff, approached and said, "Hey, we want to take pictures, and then when we turned 18, she's like, you're going to get licensed." And I'm like, I don't really want my license. She's like, "No, you're going to go get your license." I'm like, "All right, okay, sure." So I went and got my license and loved it and, don't regret it at all. But then I graduated into 2007, which was a great time for real estate, obviously.
It was. Yeah, I heard something happened there. Was it the real estate crisis of 2008?
A little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was a little discouraging, even though I still loved it. But I went and worked for my father and, in logistics, warehousing, trucking, and, got into the whole salary benefits and got a little comfortable, but still never got out of real estate. So, let's see, that goes. I did that for 7 years, and then I've been licensed now I've been in real estate full-time now for about 5 years. So, yeah. But have been licensed for a total of 18. So still always enjoyed real estate, but it took me a little bit of time to, as I told you, take the plunge and say, all right, well, I'm going to cut myself free of the nice benefits and salary and all of that, and let's do it. And again, it's been 5 years, and I don't regret it for a second. So
yeah, and that's awesome. We'll talk a little bit about that today. I have some questions for sure, but that's part of the reason why I'm doing the podcast here is because, one, I'd love it for the listeners, the people watching this on YouTube, to kind of get a feel for what it's like to sit down with a certified financial planner professional like myself, and how that conversation can be very natural, not being talked down to, all that. But also, I think that there's a lot of people out there just across the country that have bigger dreams, bigger goals, and for whatever reason, fear, things happen in life. Maybe they're feeling they're not financially ready to make that big leap as you did, kind of prevent them or hold them back from being able to achieve the things that they ultimately like to. So I'm hoping that people will be inspired by what we're going to be talking about today. They'll get something out of it, and hopefully be calling you to talk a little bit about real estate as well. So I know that I got a lot out of working with you. When I bought my first rental property, was a duplex last year, and just my experience from working with you was great in that it was my first one. So you gave me a lot of guidance on where to look, what to look for, all that sort of stuff. And I spent a couple weekends driving around looking at all the inventory in Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati. So right now, given how hot the real estate market is, just kind of walk us through a normal day for Joey Z at Huff Realty.
There's never a day that's identical, which is why I love this business, but also hate it. Typically get up first thing in the morning and, address any, emails or anything that's pressing for the day. If you have showings, those are whenever someone wants to look at houses. So sometimes they'll be morning, sometimes afternoon, sometimes they're all day. Today I'm going to be, I'll be leaving here to go do stuff in Northern Kentucky, then heading up to Ohio, and I probably won't be finished till like 6:30. So today's a heavy showing day, but then tomorrow I don't have any showings. So tomorrow's going to be paperwork, catching up. But it's hard to plan for the week, just because you have people that want to call and see something, and as opposed to 5 years ago when someone sees something, as you experienced last year, which was a crazy time as it is now. If a house comes up, someone calls and says, "Hey, I want to go see this." It's not, "Well, what are you doing this weekend?" It's, "Hey, are you free in 20 minutes? Like, can you meet there?"
Yeah.
So you got to leave some flexibility, but yeah, it's definitely a different time now compared to, again, 5-10 years ago, where, someone would call and you could plan stuff out down the road. You have to very much be on call. So yeah, which again I love. But if sometimes you're out doing something with friends, or you're taking time with family, and you get that call, and it's like, do I want to break away and go do this? It's like, it's your job. You got to go do it. Go. So yeah. So it's no day's ever the same, which again is good. Another reason why I like it. I'm not opposed to change and stuff like that. So yeah. So it's hard to. It's hard to say what a typical day is because every day is different.
Yeah. Do you keep any record of like how many hours you think you work in a week? Because I got to imagine right now it's got to be, like Elon Musk type of hours, like 80, 100-hour weeks. But that's just my own interpretation of what it's like to be a real estate agent. So you're on the mic here. What's a typical week look like for you?
Again, it can change. I'd say average. I mean, average definitely it would not shock me to look back and say that I worked 80 hours last week. But, it's just weird because, again, you'll have a day where you're doing emails and all of a sudden you'll start doing something at noon and you didn't realize the time went by, or you'll get an email I'll wake up in the middle of the night and it'll be 1:00. I'll jump on just to check emails and it's like, and I'm like, I'd rather just address this now and avoid having to deal with it in the morning. So, I mean, you're on call, but it's still up to you to decide, okay, am I going to put this off or do I want to do this now? So it's spread out throughout the day for me. So
when you got in the real estate business, just starting out, like every business owner, trying to figure out a way to carve out a niche in the market, get their name out there to attract potential, prospects and clients that are good fit for what they do. So for you, what was that experience like? Did you already know, a good circle of individuals that would be good candidates for you to work with and helping them buy and sell real estate? Or how did you actually get the types of clientele and actually prospect to have future business for yourself at Huff Realty?
Well, like I said in the beginning, when I was not 100% in real estate, I was referral only. I wasn't placing ads. I wasn't, building social media presence. So it was very much just building a referral network through friends and family, which was fine, but it was nice having that when I decided to go full time into real estate. So, but from there, I did start doing a lot more marketing, sending out mailers, doing, social media stuff. I mean, I did a lot. The first year I did a lot of random social media. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people got frustrated with me because I made it a point every single day to post something, whether it was crazy or not. But I've gotten terrible at doing it now. But I did turn to social media a lot when I was trying to build up a clientele more. But I do rely a lot on my existing network of referrals.
So in your time as being a real estate agent, you just mentioned it. You came out of college, got into real estate, housing crisis, 2008, very frustrating. Now you have probably a little bit of a lull in the real estate market after that for a period of time, I'd imagine. And then now it's as hot as it's ever been in a long time. So how do you deal with the ebbs and flows of the market like that? I mean, is that like emotionally draining? Are you excited about the ups and downs of it? Just what's your take on the ebbs and flows of how real estate works?
I will never get used to it, honestly. As much as I said, I mean, like I said, when I got into it and decided, hey, I'm just going to go 100% commission, you have amazing weeks, you have amazing months, and then you have weeks and months where it's like, what the heck's going on? And then you start freaking out. Do I need to get on social media? What do I need to do? And as much as I tell myself that's just this business, I'll never get used to it. It is a little emotionally draining, but in the end, when you look back, you look back on here, it's like, man, I was freaking out during June because you didn't have a whole lot going on. But it's like, but then you made up for it in August where I was like, I just want things to calm down. Like I need some time to myself. So you don't really think about that in the moment, but yeah, it's something that I'm not particularly going to get used to, but I think a lot of realtors, are better at managing that mentally.
Yeah, but your clients though, since you have your way of dealing with the ups and downs of real estate, because that's how you save, that's how you pay your bills and all that sort of stuff. But I got to imagine, so for me personally as a financial professional, when we're talking about other people's money and how it should be invested, both short, intermediate, long term to achieve goals, they oftentimes will get emotional, as you can probably imagine. So I would assume that the thing, your deal as a real estate agent is very similar, and that people will get emotional when they're in a contract or trying to get in a contract. So how do you kind of advise people or help them control their emotions so they can ultimately make good decisions with the property that they want to sell, the property they want to buy?
I mean, I try to tell you to keep emotion out of real estate transactions. I mean, even whether you're buying, selling, I mean, you don't want to get emotionally wrapped up. I mean, as much as, it's an investment. I'm a facts person. So I go strictly off of comps. I'm always looking at, as we did with you, and it was like, hey, I'm really liking this. It's, well, let's see what's going on over the past month within a quarter-mile radius. Let's see what's going on within a half-mile radius, and kind of go from there. But it's so different from selling. I have people that get very emotionally wrapped up in, hey, this has been my family home for 30 years, and so many memories. But it's more, well, you take your memories with you, but in the end, as you're a financial advisor, I mean, it's more about the investment aspect of it, and you can't get emotions wrapped up in it.
I love that. So that's really what I was trying to get out of that question there is that you have a process. And you follow that process because you've seen it work repeatedly for yourself and for your clients, and that helps remove all that emotional aspect of the investment, whether you're buying the home or selling the home. And I try to basically preach the same thing to my clients, is that we use a process that's been around for a long time called modern portfolio theory, which will be a completely different podcast coming out in the future here. But that takes the emotion out of the decision making and really puts it on the facts, the figures, and the data and the statistics. So I love that. It definitely helped me out when you gave me that sort of guidance. So right now in your market, you're helping folks in Ohio, you're helping folks in Kentucky. Can you kind of give me a sense for the folks that are watching and listening here? We're headquarters in Florence, Kentucky. Are you seeing a certain demographic, a certain type of median house price going for sale or selling quickly in Ohio versus Kentucky? Are there any differences there? Can you kind of give us like an update of what your assessment is of the current real estate market in Northern Kentucky and Ohio?
As everyone's aware, the market is very hot right now, and as much as we've slowed down a little bit, which it's to be expected this time of year. You have kids going back to school, and on top of that, with COVID vaccines coming out at the beginning of the summer when everyone was allowed to start traveling again, I feel like a lot of people took full advantage of that, and we're not as focused on, buying houses and, and moving and all of it. It's like, hey, let's take the family vacation, as opposed to people like last year were stuck at home and we're still, as you know, buying and selling houses. Mm-hmm. But on both sides, Ohio and Kentucky, you have, increasing average sale prices. You have decreasing days on the market. Well, again, I think that's changed a little bit just over the past month or so, but still a very strong market. Wish we would have a little bit more inventory, but interest rates are staying low, and I don't think we're going to see anything crazy happen overnight. I have clients that are kind of holding out, thinking we're going to go into this crazy dip, which, I hope we actually level out a little bit just for the sake of buyers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't expect anything drastic to happen within, in the near future.
Yeah, so we were talking about this morning, and I know that you follow this closely, and I certainly do as well as part of being a landlord. But the housing supply at the national level is really down, nearly 50% from where it was a little over a year ago. And the sale price range, so the biggest percentage of homes being sold right now is in that $250,000 to $500,000 range. Are you experiencing the same thing right now, or is that not the case for you?
No, that's the case. Inventory has been our biggest issue. There's so much demand and so little supply. That's kind of obviously what drove prices up. And then when you have interest rates at record lows, it just kind of, it doesn't help that situation. So, 100%, that's what I'm experiencing. And that too, your average sale price in Kentucky and Ohio is right there in like the $285,000 range. So obviously that's the start of the average sales price in the area. So you're going to have the bulk of your buyers jumping in that area. And when you go down, even finding a home down in the $100,000 price range is not as common. So it's probably why there's not as many. And then you have fewer buyers once you jump above the $500,000 mark. So
yeah, the data kind of suggests that too. So I'm looking at all this data from the National Association of Realtors, and the median price of existing home sales is up a little about north of $100,000 from it was a year ago. It was around $260,000. Right now it's about $363,000. That's a huge jump for me and what I'm looking at here. But the average days on the market for a home is 17 days, and a year ago it was 24. First-time buyers, that percentage is down a decent amount, 31 compared to 35 in 2020. Sales to investors is up, though, nearly 50%. So I know that we talked about how you're seeing mostly repeat home buyers, people that already owned a home, maybe selling their current home and buying another home. But are you seeing any influx in real estate investors, people looking for duplexes, multifamily homes, and that sort of thing right now?
Yeah, I mean, the investment market has always been, I mean, it's been strong for a while, but I definitely think that there are more people that are wanting to invest, especially now when money is cheap. I mean, it's easier to, I guess, to comprehend going out and buying investment properties. But at the same time, a lot of these people have cash. So that goes into play with, first-time home buyers, where I feel like they're getting impacted a little bit by that, because most first-time home buyers are, getting your traditional conventional loans or FHA loans, and sellers are looking at it and saying, oh, hey, well, I have this buyer that has, all cash or 50% cash, and it's hurting. It's hurting the first time home buyers. And the ones that I've been working with, it's frustrating for them and also for me, just because, you want to find them a perfect house. They just keep getting beat up by multiple offers and all of that. So,
yeah, I noticed that in the data as well, that cash purchases, like all cash purchases, is up nearly 50% from what it was a year ago, which makes a lot of sense to me from a financial aspect. As you mentioned, rates are so low. There's plenty of liquidity in the market. You're seeing the news now. I think the headline today is going to be about interest rates again, and whether or not the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell is actually going to increase those rates, which I think the market's anticipating that he won't, but it likely will happen sometime here in the beginning of 2022 from what Barron's articles have been reporting here recently. But speaking of Barron's, so this topic was in the headline news just the other day. Mortgage forbearance is about to end for millions of Americans. What would this mean for the housing market? So what they're quoting here is that as of today, an estimated 1.7 million homeowners are in forbearance plans, according to recent data from Mortgage Bankers Association. And over the past year, Zillow calculates that roughly 25% of borrowers listed their property for sale following their exit from forbearance. So basically what they're saying here is the end of this payment relief for mortgage borrowers will create a new housing inventory, which you talked about a little earlier today. Would you expect that to happen? I mean, from sitting here and looking at this data, I would expect those folks that may be in forbearance or could be here once the government relief ends pretty soon, that those homes will now be on the market and maybe start to level things out. I don't know if your colleagues or you yourself have kind of expected that as well.
I mean, I would expect it, but it's hard to predict anything in this market. I mean, I expected more inventory this year just because I thought that last year would have had a lot of people holding off. And I mean, inventory did not pick up like I expected it to this year. So, I mean, it would make sense if you're looking at data as you are to say that. So I want to say yes, and I would hope that there is some increase in inventory, but it's impossible to predict things in the real estate market.
Yeah, well, I would say it's also the same for the stock market as well, which is a perfect transition here. I know we spent a little bit of time talking about, your experience as a real estate agent, how you've had to overcome some struggles, both in the market itself in 2008, and then trying to figure out a balance to growing your business and your name and brand that's out there with Huff Realty. But since this is a investing show, and I happen to be the financial shepherd here, we're going to transition a little bit into some of the investment stuff. So the REIT market, Real Estate Investment Trust, again, this is coming from recent Barron's article. REIT gains have been pretty fantastic. So REITs are popular among income investors because they're required to pay out at least 90% of their taxable income in dividends to shareholders. Specifically, residential REITs have also been impressive performers this year, returning about 33% on average, which is nearly double the S&P 500's recent return here in 17%. So for you, I know that you're a real estate agent, professional, helping people buy and sell homes, but as an investor yourself, do you look to real estate? Do you look to things like real estate investment trust at all? Or are you typically just a mutual fund, stock, bond kind of guy? What is it that Joey's interested in from an investment standpoint?
I'm more mutual fund stock, which probably sounds terrible to any realtor that's listening to this. I did some real estate investing in the beginning, but I did not get heavy into multifamily apartments, anything like that. I've thought about going back just because I have so many colleagues that's their, that's what they do. They invest in properties. They'll buy one every year. They'll buy one every 6 months. And, it sounds great. It's just the thought of it after having a few way back when just is a lot. So I think I don't think it's bad either way. But yeah, I'm definitely more of a stocks mutual fund person.
Is it mainly due to the like the handyman aspect of being a landlord, or is it just the dealing with the tenants and the contracts and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was fine. I mean, the contract aspect of it was fine. I mean, I deal with contracts, every day, but it was definitely more of just the routine maintenance stuff that I tried to do myself. I mean, I was a lot younger and did not want to be paying somebody to do stuff. So I think that it's a little bit different now, and that was very early in my real estate career as well. So
yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I looked at the real estate market as a way to drive income for myself and my family, but I am definitely not the handyman. So when I purchased that rental property, I tried to get it at a price point, knowing what improvements need to be made so I could get the return that I was looking for there. So all of you wannabe real estate investors out there, if you are not handy, please take Joey's advice here and don't try to do it yourself. If you like to keep tenants happy and you'd like to keep the rent coming in and hopefully see that rent go up over time, definitely call your handyman. And I have a good group of those folks. So for your colleagues that do this quite a bit, what do you see as making them successful? Is it the way that they purchase the property, the improvements they make? What is it that you see them being, highly successful at with their real estate investments?
I mean, it depends, because you can find some of these that are fully rented out that, that some people just, it's attractive. They see the numbers and they're like, what I have in cash, or whether you're paying cash or, financing a portion of it. It just makes financial sense to them. So they see the numbers and they're like, yeah, this is great. I have other ones that, it's all about turnkey. I've got some clients that are not actually local that I'll go and do video tours for. And they want anything that's turnkey. They want something that's totally redone, brand new, because they like being able to market, this is a brand new unit and it's easy. And we'll still look at comps and look at what things are leasing for in the area. But when it comes to that, again, it's I don't want to say it's a gamble. You're going to lease stuff in this market, but the exact rent you can't really determine until you actually put it up. But yeah, it kind of varies, but everything really does still come down to comparables. So
yeah, I totally would agree with the assessment there. Getting back to some of the other parts of investing. So you're doing this job as a real estate professional. You're on call basically 24 hours a day, essentially. Whenever somebody needs you, you're ready to answer an email or a phone call, and you're very quick to do that, by the way, which I appreciated when I got to work with you. But how do you see money? I mean, obviously we need money. We need to understand something about money because that's what we exchange for things, products, services, pay our bills, save, all that sort of thing. But is it for you, is it like a security, like trying to accumulate money and wealth? Or is it more for causes that are important to you, taking care of family members? Like, why do you invest at all?
Well, I mean, obviously invest for future as you're supposed to. But at the same time, it's been a little bit different as a realtor, especially, again, coming from a position to where you have a company that's provided or putting into a 401k for you, or, it's kind of being done where when you're a realtor, you're your own. I mean, you're your own boss. You're basically you own your own company, even though I'm backed by Huff Realty, but I'm still a 1099, independent contractor. So with that being said, it was tough in the beginning because it's, you have this tendency to want to hold on to cash because it's like if the market dips or something happens, like I want to make sure, if everything stops, then, you're more cautious. But the more I've been in it, the more it's been easier for me to, again, put more money away into mutual funds and IRA and stuff like that. So
are you a student of the market? I mean, I only ask that because I would find it a little hard to imagine that you have a lot of time to do things like read Barron's articles, check out what's going on in the news and CNBC on a regular basis because you're out hustling and meeting clients and doing showings and all that sort of thing. So I guess how do you carve out time in your day to make sure that you're saving enough, that you're getting the type of return that you need for the level of risk that you're comfortable with taking so you can ultimately achieve that long-term goal of retirement in the future?
I'm terrible at it, and this is why I pay somebody like you to do that. So
we can talk about that after the show. We'll get into that maybe. So with that being said, do you just kind of have a disciplined approach then? Like, I'm going to put away X amount of money in my retirement account or in my savings account or whatever vehicle that you're using, and just stick with that on a monthly, weekly, or however often that you do that? Can you just kind of...
Sure. Yeah, I have a basically a set amount that I put aside every month, and I reassess every year based on how previous year went. So obviously things change. They can go up, they can go down. I typically don't pull back with what I'm doing. But if I have a great year, then when I go, to file taxes and whatnot, then I'm like, well, I need to do some excess into, savings or retirement as opposed to going and spending it on vacations. So,
yeah, or you're not actually buying a new Mercedes every year, or
fortunately not.
No. Okay.
No, as much of a car person as I am, I try to be smart, but no, I do. I have a monthly, basically a monthly amount that I set aside, and then I reassess it annually.
So you mentioned trying to take emotions out of decision making for the advice you give to your real estate clients, right? Trying to take emotion out of their decision making. Do you have a process that you kind of follow to take the emotion out of decision making when it comes to your savings, the discipline approach, and the investments that you make?
I try not to. Again, I mean, I try to increase every year. So yeah, if I have if I have a year where it wasn't as great, it's well, hey, I can actually, I should just take some out and go and do something and have fun and blah blah blah. But no, I try to take emotion out of that just as I do in my own business. So it's been easier to do that just because that's what I tell my clients. So I'm like, well, I'm got to tell myself the same thing.
No, yeah, that's perfect. Because I think that I think Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch, all these folks that I look up to, specifically when I got into this business of being a financial planning professional. So Warren Buffett would tell you that the worst enemy that investors have is themselves. And you can actually get a PhD, believe it or not, in this topic called behavioral finance at almost every major university around the world. And the whole point of this topic of behavioral finance, which we'll be getting into in other book clubs, by the way, you can check that out on my Facebook page, the Shepherd Book Club. But basically, behavioral finance comes down to two things. We're all hardwired as human beings with fear and greed. And we actually feel losses twice as much as we're happy with the gains that we have. So when you're looking at things like the stock market and you see these news events, like when COVID happened, the market goes down 3,000 points in a day, basically wiping out 4 years worth of very profitable gains for investors. Does that get you excited, nervous? Do you want to put more into the market? Like what goes through your mind when you see stuff like that in the headlines, and maybe your clients are talking about it too?
I mean, well, let's just go back to when COVID actually started. Well, it started here last year. I mean, my sister lives in San Francisco, and everything there was happening, weeks, well, months before it was here. And, I was talking to her, and she's saying, everything's closing down. We're sheltering in place. I'm like, it'll never happen here. We're in Cincinnati or in California. And then what actually happened, I mean, 100%, it was, I had clients, I had, sellers that were like, we probably shouldn't show our house. Let's take it off the market. I had buyers that were like, we don't want to go look at houses. This is weird. So I had probably a week where I was freaking out a little bit, and I did go into a little bit of a panic. Where it's like I should probably actually have more cash on hand, but that freak out week was obviously ended, because then very quickly after, clients were like, you know what, there's really no like end in sight with this. I had some that were still very cautious, but for the most part, as everybody knows, the market last year was fine. It was great. And so with that being said, it's, but I look back at that, and as you mentioned, that week was way worse than realizing, okay, like we're actually gonna be fine. Like the panic moment of that was way worse than when actually everything recovered. It's like, well, this is actually turned out to be a great year.
Yes.
So
it was, and the market was up about 16% last year, even though it had that crazy day in early March when the pandemic actually happened there. So it's refreshing to hear that, as a real estate professional, that you kind of were able to calm your emotions down right over a very short period of time. You were able to help other people do that. That's obviously led to success for you and probably a lot of success for your clients. And I look at it the same way, because the stock market over the last 100 years, it's up 70% of the time. It will be down 30% of the time as well. And you want those down periods to take advantage of it. So I had clients that were basically calling me around the same time, kind of with that oh crap kind of moment, like, what do we do here about this? And the good thing is we had some liquidity in the portfolio. Right? Having liquidity when events like that happen allow you to take advantage of those opportunities. And basically my advice to them was, in a nutshell, I understand how you feel. I feel the same way. I have money invested in the market as well. But we got to look at this one of two ways. There's never been a period in time in history where we've never had a market not recover, from the Great Depression, from 2008, from all these things. So all these companies were highly profitable last year. There is a global pandemic. I get that, how it could potentially affect the long term of the market. But either we need to go ahead and buy bullets and helmets and take all of our money out of the market because this is the end of the world, or it's just an opportunity for us to put some capital to work here. And it sounds like you are disciplined enough to do that for yourself and probably be able to provide that sort of guidance for the real estate decisions that your clients were trying to make. So that's got to at least make you feel good as part of being a real estate agent and a professional in that field, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what we dealt with last year was not what anybody has, well, I think nobody's experienced in our lifetime.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's no way there was no way to actually plan on it or react to it in the way that you've, reacted to anything else. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I love it. So we talk about three pillars at Shepherd Wealth Management: performance, purpose, and passion. And what we mean by that is we're here to drive performance, because anything can happen in the market on the short term. The market is a great place to build wealth long term. Short term, it's a terrible place to invest because you don't know what's going to happen day to day. But we need to be able to put ourselves in a position, have the discipline to look at facts and take emotions out of the equation so we can get the performance clients deserve, whether it's a great year in the market, a tough year in the market, or something in between that. But we're passionate about not only getting the performance, but also providing a give back to those that could probably need a hand up. So part of what we do here at Shepherd Wealth Management on a quarterly basis is take 10% of the revenue that we generate and invest that into local charitable organizations here in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky region. How I go about doing that is I actually get a list from my clients of charitable organizations that are important to them, and then we'll pick one on a quarterly basis. We'll highlight that and we'll celebrate that during our quarterly reviews that I have with all the clients, and of course put that out in the social media space and on our newsletters. So for you, are there any important causes for Joey Z and things that are important to you that you would want to potentially have more support and recognition for?
I'm an animal advocate.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What kind? Dogs, cats, doesn't matter?
I love all animals. I'm more of a dog person than a cat person, but that's just because I'm a high energy person, and I think overall most cats are more chill. But I've met some I've met some cats that will that'll outdo some of the dogs. So
no question. Any specific breed or?
So I have a Bernedoodle and a French bulldog, and
okay.
But yeah, I'm a big dog person, but my partner Dustin is small dog, so we've married that to have both, and ironically, the small dog runs the house. So,
yeah, no, I get that. We used to have a miniature dachshund. Unfortunately, she passed. She's a rescue dog. We had her for many years. So we got a new dog, which is a golden doodle. His name's Henry. He's a full size, big guy. We have a rescue dog named Emily as well, a Shar-Pei boxer mix. So. I don't know. Do you do any local events with the SPCA or any of the animal shelters around here or anything like that?
I've not done any events. I've donated, but I've not done, I should be better at it, but yeah, I've not done any actual events.
Well, the good news is now that's definitely going on my list of organizations, and it's certainly something I look forward to helping out with in the future. But before we let you go, Joe, I know you got a full day ahead of you here, meeting with clients and showing houses. I got to ask, is there anything that you really don't like about being a real estate agent? I mean, it's got to be something that you really don't want to do that you have to do on a regular basis. I'd love to know what that is.
I think you've hit it, honestly, with the ups and downs. I mean, as much as I like having different days and not being able to have the same 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, it still gets me to where I'll have an amazing month, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, but what do I do now? I don't have as much, and then it's like, but you just had a great month, like just enjoy some time, and I'm terrible at it. Like I then just go into panic mode, like I got to go find some business. So I do think that's my biggest thing, but I have colleagues that are like, you're crazy, like it's not, you'll get used to it. And I'm like, no, but I've been doing this for a long time. I'm still not used to it.
That's the same for me, because when I went independent, spending about 10 years working for big places, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade for a long time. When I decided to do this, I felt the same way. I was like, how am I going to make health insurance payments? I'm going to have to pay out of pocket now. I got to pay for all the expenses to operate, run this show, have this room, all the equipment that's required to do that. And then I only get paid 4 times a year now because it's a quarterly fee for my clients. So it's all different. It's all new. My wife is amazing. She helps me out with all the marketing stuff, all the stuff that you see here in this office and all the things that are on my website. So she's fantastic, and I have that support. I guess, how does Huff support you and what you do? I know that they provide tools to help you make good use of the recommendations you have for your clients.
Huff is great. I mean, obviously, I've been with them since I've started in this business, and there's a reason for that. I mean, you work for yourself, and you call the shots. You make your well, I say you make your own hours, but that's your clients make your hours. But with that said, the people that I work with there, Susan, who's my manager, broker, and I can say an amazing friend. It's amazing where when you kind of need the support, you have a question, how many people, I mean, we've got like an internal Facebook group, you can get on there and you'll have a response from 25 people within 5 minutes. So, I mean, this is just me. I'm based out of our Florence office in Kentucky and then our Anderson office in Ohio. And it's the same there. So, I mean, Huff as a company is just always wanting to help. They're always there. I mean, their training is amazing. They're a great support group when you need it, because you'll have 2 weeks where it's like you haven't talked to anybody in the office or anything, and it's like, you got to get back. It kind of just it reboots you, because I work from home mainly. I go in the office very rarely, but it's just great. I mean, when you go in there, it is just like a breath of fresh air to talk to everybody, because as much as you're really working, I mean, everybody's working for themselves. Everyone is always willing to chip in when you need to. If you're out of town, or if you need someone to jump in. If you've got a busy day and someone calls, like I said, I mean, in this market, if I have someone that calls and says, I need to see a house, you better have them there within, an hour, or else they're going to miss out on it. If I'm busy, I can easily get on there, and it's crazy how many people are like, I'll go do it, no problem. Like, so Huff's very much been amazing, and that's why I've been with them for so long.
That's amazing. And you've had a pretty good year. I guess you've been selling more and doing more business this year than last year even. And it was a good year for you last year too, right?
Yeah. I mean, last year was great. This year has been better, and it's different for everyone. I mean, I've colleagues that I talk to that say the opposite. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm ever going to beat last year. And I'm like, well, it was great. But yeah, this year I've been fortunate to have a very good year, and clients I've worked with have been great. It's just a different market. Like I said, you got to be ready to go. So, I mean, 10 years ago, you could plan for the weekend, and now you're planning for, the day or the next 6 hours. So
love it. I love it. And you kind of putting one foot in front of the other. We talked about a discipline. You're obviously very focused on achieving success for yourself. You move emotion from the equation for yourself and your clients to provide good advice. You got a ton of support from Huff, it sounds like. So this has been a fantastic podcast. This 40 minutes went by as fast as, I can't believe we've been talking for 40 minutes right now. I've had nothing but a great time talking to you about this. I know the people watching and listening to this probably got a lot out of it. I certainly hope you did, from just getting motivated to achieve the specific goals you have. I think anything is possible if you have that sort of disciplined approach and you surround yourself with great people that want to support you. So it sounds like you're in a great spot to do that for yourself and your clients, Joey. I certainly hope we get a chance to do this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
This has been great for me, and certainly hope everybody that's watching and listening to this had something that they could take away from this as well, about their own personal decisions that they make and how they want to achieve success, as well as the real estate investments and potential decisions that they'll make with their own personal property or future properties that they may want to purchase. And they'll reach out to Joey Z at Huff Realty here in Florence, right next to the HQ here for Shepherd Wealth Management, right next door. Yeah, exactly. So check this out on Spotify. This is going to go up there today. Shortly it'll be on YouTube as well, which you can get links to that right on the website, shepherdwm.com. Of course, you can give me a call at 513-630-2664. My name's Joshua Casey Garland, the Financial Shepherd. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to doing this again in a couple weeks. Have a great day, everybody.